So, my name's Greg White, and I'm going to be conducting an interview for Dadant, and I'm here with Zoie, who is a member of the local Beekeepers Association, and the CMO of her local company,
Bee Sanctuary Honey Farms.
Bee Sanctuary Honey Farms. All right. Well, it's very nice to meet with you, Zoie. So today, my understanding is that you guys do queen rearing.
Yes.
Yes. If you were to describe your job to anyone who isn't into beekeeping, how would you describe it?
I would say that I make honeybee queens.
Honeybee queens. All right. I know there's a lot of people who rear their own queens, but what do you guys do that makes it special?
It's taken years to get to the quality that we've achieved. A big thing for us is like the characters that each hive has and how we want that to be in our apiary. They're really big factors. So the quality of the apiaries or the hives in our apiaries are all the same. They're all very gentle. They make a lot of like honey. They're really hard workers. And they're like qualities that we look for, and that's like kind of goes into what queen rearing is.
Awesome. Are there any like qualities or traits in particular that you guys are really looking for in particular?
The number one thing is gentle bees. Especially with being sort of in the South, you can have Africanized honeybees, but having gentle bees is a very big characteristic for us.
Awesome. So with Africanized bees, how do you guys necessarily deal with those, I guess?
There's no way to combat the characteristics that Africanized honeybees. So kind of the only thing that you can do is sort of get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because once, like the drones from Africanized honeybees will mate with your other queens, and so it'll make other hives in your apiary have those same characteristics. So there's no way to combat that.
Oh. So that's really tough then to kind of contain the quality of your queens that you produce, right? All right. For mating the queens, could you explain how you do that in particular?
So queen rearing takes time, a lot of planning. You have to plan when you're going to graft, the action of making a queen, essentially. When the queen is going to emerge, like catching her before then, because queens will fight and kill each other if they all hatch out at the same time. So it's just a lot of planning, and so the act of grafting is making the queen. It involves sort of taking a female larva, right when an egg is laid, it's laid like a little tiny grain of rice, and at 3 days it turns to its side in the cell and like kind of forms a C shape. So you're looking for that really tiny C shape, and there's like a grafting tool that goes into that cell and catches that C-shaped larva, and then you take her out and you put her into like a queen cup. And so it's doing that process over and over and over again, about 60 times, depending on how many you're wanting to make. And then it's doing that same action over and over again. And then you put that into what we call like a mother hive.
Like a nook?
No, not a nook. It's a 10-frame hive, and we call it like a starter finisher.
So you're very meticulous with it. Is there any meticulous record keeping to it, or is it more of like you have a certain system that lets you achieve it?
In regards to what?
To properly breeding your queens with the characteristics you want.
There's a lot of stuff that we look out for whenever we do work our hives. So it's just, we all like to keep a mental note of things. We have sort of a system in our queen yard where we use bricks on top of the lids, and how those bricks are placed tells each and every one of us what that hive is doing.
Oh, that's a really cool system then, actually. Everyone has their own little way of doing it, it seems like. So that's really cool that you do that particular. So you've told me earlier that you've been beekeeping since you were younger, right?
So I've been beekeeping for about like 12, 13 years now. I'm 21 and I started when I was like 8. So I've been doing it for a really long time. Basically grew up with bees. It's just been part of my daily life, honestly.
And was it your father or mother who got you into beekeeping?
My dad brought home a couple of hives one day, and I was just really curious what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all kind of got into it.
Does your dad continue to beekeep?
Both my parents and I beekeep together.
So, would you say that your parents taught you how to beekeep? Do they have any background in like entomology, or was this more of like a trial and error thing?
My dad has a previous background in beekeeping. He, when he was about my age, he would help his grandfather with beekeeping. So he's done it before.
Oh, so your family also has done this in the past. This is a longer running thing, I guess.
Yes.
That's awesome. So other than raising queens, you guys beekeep for honey and other stuff like that. Is that correct?
Correct.
So do you guys focus on queen breeding, or do you guys focus on or are you guys more of a generalized thing?
It's sort of more general. The main thing that we focus on is like the quality of the hive. And by focusing on that, we're able to kind of hit every other mark.
Okay, that's good. That sounds a little more towards queen breeding than just strictly honey or pollination. Do you guys pollinate? Oh, sorry.
We do. If you focus on like the quality of the hive, if you have good bees, so like by focusing on queen rearing, you're gonna have good bees that will make you a lot of honey, and you'll have good bees that will pollinate a lot of crops.
So generally, it's just better to focus on the quality of the hive, and everything else kind of
will follow.
Comes.
Yes.
So, I heard that you went to the University of West Florida. What are you studying currently?
I'm currently majoring in general business at the University of West Florida.
And so that really goes into your CMO position. Is that correct?
It does.
I guess you have been learning a lot of things that have been helping your family's business overall.
It's helped me like learn how business theory works and how I can apply those theories to the real world practice.
That's awesome. Are there any lessons that you've learned in college that have impacted you more than others?
Not necessarily. I think like most lessons that I've learned in college are just lessons that I've learned in life, and so this applies to everything overall.
All right. Well, going into that then.
I think the main lesson that I've learned is that not every failure is a failure, and it's important to like focus on like kind of like the trial and error thing, like how to improve the next time and not really feel so down about the fact that you might have failed in your eyes or anyone else's eyes.
So it's more of like an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
Are there any tips that you would give to anyone who's starting out in beekeeping?
Have a mentor.
Have a mentor?
Have a mentor. Have someone that's more experienced and someone that you trust will give you like really good information and will be a cheerleader for you.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who have said in the past that having a mentor is the right thing, because if you don't, you really have to like reinvent the wheel.
Yes. And I have a great mentor, my dad.
So you have pollinated farms, is that correct?
We have.
You have. How's that? I haven't heard a lot of people talk about that.
We haven't pollinated for like big commercial farms or anything. We've had farmers reach out and be like, hey, I would love to have a couple of hives on our farm to help pollinate. So we've had a couple of farmers that we've helped pollinate for. It's not really much that we have to do. It's just we're kind of like making like another apiary in a sense. We're just putting a couple hives out on their farm, taking care of the hives, doing what we would do at any other apiary, and they're just helping by like pollinating their crops.
Have you had any troubles with pollinating other farms in terms of like pesticide use? I know a lot of people have had trouble with pesticides.
Yeah, we've had some apiaries we've lost because where the bees might be placed, it might be a little too close to the road where the pesticides are being sprayed at, or other neighbors using pesticides. It's just, there's stuff that has gone wrong.
Looking at stuff that's gone wrong, have you been able to use that experience to save some of the bees that may have been affected by the pesticides?
When bees are affected by pesticides, the whole entire hive dies. So there's not much that we can do to really save them. We'll just take out whatever is left, and then we'll try to find a new area to put the hives at and see if that area works. And if it doesn't, we just keep trying.
For the honey, though, you guys sell honey. What does that entail?
Selling honey entails just kind of working with vendors. So I have like connections and relationships closely with like the owners of every store that I'm in. So it's kind of just like I call them, they call me, saying that they want honey, how much they want, and I cater to their needs. There's not any sort of minimum or quota that they have to reach. It's just what best works for them. So whenever they order, I try to have a turnaround rate of at least, like at max, a week. I try not to go over a week after they've ordered. And then I deliver to them at no extra fee or charge.
Do you guys package your own honey, or do you offload it to someone else?
We do everything in-house.
Do you guys sell like various bottles or jars, or how do you guys sell your honey?
We have various bottles and jars that we sell, and we have plastic and glass. And we sell from like a small 1 pound squeeze to, you can get as big as like a gallon or even 5 gallons, depending on what you're using it for.
Do you guys delve into like making various products like lip balms or soaps?
Yeah, we make our own lip balms and soaps with our own beeswax that we have.
That's really cool.
Thanks.
Are there any aspects of your business that you want to talk about in particular?
Bee Sanctuary was started by my parents to help me sort of pay for college without, like, go to college and not have college debt. So now that I'm graduating in a month, I can say I don't have any college debt, which is great. But it really shows how much the community has helped me with my business and like with my education. So that really means a lot. But of Bees, I love Bee Sanctuary. I've loved everyone that's sort of helped me in one way or another.
So the business connections that you've made, it's very important to establish those fairly early, I assume. Is that correct?
When I turned 18, I joined an organization called BNI, which is Business Network International. So it's a group of different industry leaders meeting together. We have breakfast every week, and we just like talk about our business. And so we're sort of each other's sales team in a sense. So we just keep each other in mind throughout the week. And like if let's say someone comes to buy honey, or someone's talking about bees, and then they mention another problem, say like, there's an issue with my car. I say, oh, there's this person that I know, and I meet them every single week. We have breakfast together. Then it's like, that's something that I miss. So through being in that and like hearing their expertise, because I'm only 21 and I only joined when I was 18. So they have way more business experience than I do. And so I was able to learn a lot through going to those meetings and going to like Escrosa Beekeepers Association. My parents do that, and Escrosa Beekeepers Association. My parents do that, and I'll go when I can because I'm a full-time college student. But going to that and like, especially growing up, like hearing how some people would say like stuff that was going on in their apiaries or questions that they had, which all varies, throughout the month based on the season and all the issues that are going on with the weather. But going to that and like seeing how the community has helped and like how other mentors have helped, it's also really interesting and helped me a lot.
So it was a long process to gain the business knowledge you guys needed to successfully run your business. And I know a lot of beekeepers who are really great at beekeeping, but not necessarily at handling business affairs. So for like diversifying what you sell, the lip balms, the honey, and doing the queen breeding, how did that happen? I guess, like, did you guys start selling honey initially, or how did it naturally occur? Did you start with raising hives, queens, or selling products?
We start with like 2 hives, 2 nooks, and we try to grow that. And by growing that, we were able to have more of a honey production. So we were getting more honey because bees make that naturally, whether you want them to or not. So by having a lot of hives, we started getting a lot of honey. And then when the butcher shop was on Fairfield Drive, we had like honey dispensers where people could pour their own bottle of honey. And that was sort of the program that we had then. Then we started growing a bit more, growing our hives. I don't remember the first time that I grafted, but my dad would probably have way better memory of this than I do. I was only like 10. But I think eventually like we started just growing a bit more, and we were selling honey because we're not going to use like 25 barrels of honey anytime soon. So we would just sell it to people. Some people would want like 5 gallons of it, like from like other beekeepers that we knew might want it to like sell to people. A lot of people would buy honey as Christmas gifts. And then we slowly started growing. I remember in high school I started grafting. So we were starting like our whole queen rearing thing about in middle school, I want to say. So we started like looking for characteristics, and like my dad did a lot of like reading and research, and he found mentors that taught him about like queen rearing and grafting and everything. And then my dad sort of taught me that, and then we've kind of just been rocking and rolling ever since.
When did you guys start getting into some lip balms and other honey related products?
I want to say when I started college, or maybe like towards late high school. We always had like a lot, like about like 100 pounds of wax. And so we had just an excess of wax that we didn't know what to do with, and we were just stacking it up. So we were like, I like try to find ways to use it. So I found like you can make soaps and lip balms that are like really good and all natural and doesn't have weird stuff that you can't pronounce in it. So I tried making that, and I really enjoyed it. Something that my parents and I like to do, especially around Christmas. We'll just be in the kitchen making lip balms together.
Would you say your experience in college helped you come to that conclusion, or was it more of something that grew out of necessity, where you had all this excess and like, oh, what are we going to do with it?
It was more like out of necessity. We didn't want to like, wax is great, but no one's going to use just a 25-pound block of wax. So we just try to find ways to like use it and see what other people like. Other people might use it for making beard balms, so we'll help supply them with wax, or they might want to make their own chapsticks and lip balms, so we can give them like the wax to make that with if they want to make it with wax from a local honey place.
Do you do swarm services?
We do not.
Do not. Okay.
So the reason that we don't do any sort of swarm catching is the same reason my dad said before the interview, was like talking about like breeding and relating it to dog breeding. Like with queen rearing, we've worked for years to get the quality that we have. So by catching a swarm, you don't know what qualities that swarm has, and by introducing it to your apiary, you're bringing in those undetermined characteristics and qualities into your apiary that you might not necessarily want, and which we might not want because we've worked really, really hard to get to where we're at. And so by catching a swarm and bringing it back, you're like kind of throwing away years of hard work. So that's why we don't.
is there anything that you want to say to the camera to like be like, this is our business?
Bee Sanctuary Honey Farms is a family apiary where we sell honey, soaps, chapsticks, and everything that a beekeeper needs to sort of get started. But we specialize in queen rearing.
Yeah, commercial beekeeping is heavy on equipment,
Yes.
and this is just an old standard bobcat. And what makes it unique for beekeepers is we have this tail wheel that hydraulically goes down to lift the back wheels off the ground so that it can turn really tight and not tear up the ground where we're dropping off bees. And we deliver bees on pallets when we're doing pollination, and we only pollinate for like organic, small organic farmers. And then when we collect that honey, or we also put those on pallets, and those go on a flatbed truck, and then we'll walk through the process of how the honey comes in and gets eventually into bottles.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
So these are 4-way pallets is what we call them. And the boxes of honey will stack on these. These are just stacked on top of one another. And those boxes of honey come into this room first. And we're in the middle of feeding bees, so that's just jars to feed bees in the spring. But this room will bring it temperature controlled to like 109. Makes the honey flow out easier. And the few bees that are left on the comb will go up in that skylight and get off the comb, so they're not in the extraction room.
That's amazing.
And then this door stays closed during that process. And then the combs come into here, and we run them through. This is a decapper, and this decaps the honey. So the frames will run through the top here, and they drop down, and these serrated knives cut the cappings off the top. And they're hot knives. They pump hot water through those knives. And if you come over here, they oscillate. And as those frames drop down, they'll cut open the tops so the honey can come out. And then they'll push down here and go into an extractor. An extractor uses centrifugal force to get the honey out. So a comb, if you've ever seen honeycomb, it's actually like a V towards the top. So when you put the tops towards the outside of this cage, and this spins, it'll sling the honey out to the walls and drain out. Okay? And then once we collect that, we usually put it in barrels. And then when it's time to, and we label the barrels based on time of year and everything when we collect it. And then we'll decant out of the barrels with that dolly there. That dolly tips the barrels over. And then in here is where we do the bottling. So then we'll load these tanks and bottle honey, bottle it and label it. And a real important thing about a bottling room is you want to be able to have a hand washing location, 3-compartment sink, floor drains. There's a little list of what you need to have. And so that's what this is. And so we'll bulk out. These hold 6 gallons. We'll bulk out either spring or fall. It's the main way we collect honey because there's so much blooming in the spring. Really hard to say it's one floral source for that honey. Same in the fall. So we harvest in the spring or the fall, and that's what we'll label it spring or fall. But around here, you hear a lot about gallberry honey. that's a spring crop. So the spring honey will have a vast majority of it will be gallberry nectar. Okay.
That's awesome. I'm actually gonna go through and take a swooping shot of the. If I hold it, or
Yeah, that's just a bottle of honey.
yeah, that's really cool though.
Cool.
Yes, that was awesome. Wow, these are very calm bees.
That's a comment we get very often from people that buy our nucleus colonies, how gentle the bees are, and that's the thing we focus on, because most of our customers that buy nucleus colonies are the backyard beekeeper, and so we really do select for gentleness and a low propensity to swarm. In a congested area, in a neighborhood, the last thing you want is bees that swarm too much or that are extra defensive. So you keep selecting for those qualities in your queen mothers and your drone mothers. And we flood the area with drones from drone mothers. We've got other land within a very short distance of this in both directions, and we pack those full of 10 frame colonies for our drone mothers. And our queen mothers, we graft off of them. We'll set some queen cells here, and we've got other queen yards around the county as well. And this is the one that's just here.
That's cool.
And those colonies are colonies that actually grow out the queen cells. And as you see, they've got lots of bees hanging off the front and what have you. And but you need a really dense colony to encourage them to pull out queen cells and have enough force to be able to feed multiple queen cells. So, in all the work, the grafting is actually the easiest part. Getting all your genetics selected is what takes a lot of time. And so these, have you seen these before?
Yes, I have actually.
So those are queen cups, plastic queen cups that we graft into. We call that a cell bar. And then you just, these are little, that's actually like a duck quill, like the end of a duck feather, for going into a cell and pulling out the right age of larvae, depositing those in those queen cups. And for me, I need a lot of light, so I brought in I use a high bay commercial light to get a bunch of light. We just use these easels to hold the frames when we're selecting them. And then just, these are extra wood boxes and things.
Wow. That's awesome. Got your little queen catchers, it looks like, over here.
So those are
not catchers, but
these are cell cages.
Cages.
So once you have a queen cell and you want to introduce it, and when they draw this out, it'll have some wax on the end of the queen cell. You can place it in there, and it protects the sides from getting chewed out. So if you introduce it to a colony, they don't chew that out. So that's just that's actually a cell cage. And then queen cages are over here. And that's candy, which slows the time that the new colony takes to get into the queen to accept her. And this is the door where, when we catch the queens, we deposit her in there and close that door.
That's cool.
Yeah, just hiding in stuff. It's one of the fun things. You get all the little pieces and parts and making things. It's kind of fun too.
Awesome.
Got any questions while we're down here about woodware or equipment or?
No, not in particular. I'll respect the interviewing your daughter exclusively.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
All
right.
Yeah, but that's crazy. Just how many, how many nucs there are. It's amazing.
Colony with all the bees outside. That one's currently drawing out some queen cells.
Oh.
And they should be capped tomorrow morning.
Mm.
And this is a smell grove board, which is part of the starter finisher process of starting them queenless, the queen cells, and then finishing them queen right. And that board helps in doing that. There's a few bees down there.
Yeah. And so you guys purposefully have made this pond here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just for the bees to have water. I just added some more clay. It keeps draining down because it's real sandy here.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep adding clay, trying to get it to hold water better.
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of people talk about the concept of like the dirty water for the bees and how they love that in particular.
I mean, they like mineralized water. I mean, I don't know if dirty is the ticket, but
yeah.
And that's why they're attracted to the water out of the faucet, because it's chlorinated, which has a mineral smell. They're attracted to that, and then when it's in contact with the earth, the ones that are coming and getting water now, middle of the day, this would have been thousands and thousands of bees, and it's easier for them to get the moisture from the edge instead of out on the water. So, but you'll see them all in the edge, getting it. It looks like they're getting it out of the mud, but they're getting the moisture right on the edge. But they need a balanced diet just like you do. We need carbohydrates, protein, minerals, vitamins, and water. They need all the exact same things.